Hello, beautiful people. Mic check, mic check. How's it going? How's everybody doing? It's good to see you all. I apologize that we did not have a live yesterday. I had a meeting come onto my calendar. And of course, had to deal with that. But I want to say a quick shout out and thank you to everybody who has supported spooky season so far. Mods, if you're looking for the link to the post, it no longer exists. I took that post down. Had to do some security proofing for that Nikki video that I published today. So if you haven't seen the Nikki video, please make sure to show that some love this weekend because I worked an exorbitant amount of time on it. But it was my pleasure. I hope you all are having a good day so far and feeling good. But yes, I wanted to thank everybody. Unfortunately, I do not have updated pictures of Princey. I hope to get to that over the weekend and maybe we'll have a live on Sunday. But wanted to make sure that, first of all, just a shout out to all of you, everybody who has supported the Docket Fund. Ooh, child, I appreciate you so much. To the greatest mod squad on the internet, shout out to you, to all the members, to all the subscribers, to all the supporters. Thank you. And to everyone who has supported my spooky season. Thank you so much. I appreciate it very much. You're making it very, very special for me. Birthdays can be a funny thing, but y'all are making this a good one. So thank you for that. Before we get into this, okay, and I know some of y'all have been waiting on this, but if you haven't noticed, I've been producing a lot of scripted videos. So yeah, that takes a huge amount of time, and I really needed to get through all of that and get it out of my brain so that I had capacity to even look at this and figure out what is going on. But before we get to that, and as people gather, I wanted to tell y'all a story. This is a gentleman that goes by the name of Dayton on TikTok. And I wanted to tell you all about my interaction and get your thoughts, and also because I'm going to put this on TikTok and it's just easier to go through everything here on this live so I can edit it for TikTok because everything is on my phone and you record TikToks, technically on your phone and I can't read everything and record. And so I was like, you know what? We're going to have a story time. Okay, so this is Dayton. Last night, Dayton posted a video on TikTok recounting having gone out to have drinks with somebody who he hasn't seen since I can't remember if he said high school or middle school and I can't check because he has since taken the video down, but we'll get to that. So he is recounting this story of having drinks with somebody who he hasn't seen since either high school or middle school. And he does this in the context of a murder that has happened in the area. And he's here. So he's in the same place as me, bless his heart. He's a student at the University of Washington. So he's talking about a murder of a woman, a case of femicide. So he's sharing this story in this context of this murder that has happened. I'm not going to get into the details of it, but an arrest has not been made at this point in time. So this person hits him up. They go out for drinks. They're having drinks. And just in the middle of hanging out with no prompting, this person asks Dayton, keep after looking, this person asks Dayton, hey, have you heard about this case in the news, and Dayton is like, "Oh, yeah, it's everywhere. I totally heard about it." And the dude proceeds to tell him that he is the number 1 suspect in this murder case, that he was the last person with the victim. He's 33, 34 years old. Um, so this person proceeds to tell Dayton that he is the number 1 suspect in this unsolved murder, and that he was the last person, seen with the victim. And this victim was pew-pewed to death, okay? So then he says that, again, no prompting, they're just having drinks. This person pulls out a pew-pew, shows it to him, ejects the cartridge, and is like, "Here, hold this." And the thing that's really interesting about this video is that Dayton's whole focus is on, "Oh my god, I just had dinner with a murderer." It's the sensationalism of, "I just had dinner with I think I know somebody who's a killer, and oh my god, and can you believe what I just went through?" And so, I watched the video a couple times, and I'm pretty disturbed by what I'm hearing, and by what I'm not hearing in the video. And, I'm also a survivor. So, after a couple minutes, I leave a comment to the effect of, "You need to call the police in this case, and you need to report your interaction with this man." And then I move on about my evening. And then my phone starts blowing up, and I check my notifications, and I've got hundreds of notifications from TikTok, which has never happened to me before. So I go to look at what is going on, and it's in response to my comment, of people who are liking it, who are responding to it, of women who are outraged at this man's flippant, sensationalized, me, 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 me. Oh, isn't this a fascinating, interesting little story? And so I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting. And I, continue to go on about my evening. Then he responds. And he says, "I didn't even think about it until after, but they're already interviewing him." Well, one would imagine they are if he's the number 1 suspect in an ongoing homicide investigation. One would imagine that they are at least attempting to speak to this man. That's not the point. So, when I eventually see his that he has responded to my comment under his video, I go to say that to him, like, "Duh. Also, you don't know what you know and what you don't know. And it's not up to you to determine whether or not the interaction that you had with this man is relevant to the ongoing investigation of the murder of a woman. You need to report your interaction, everything that he said, what he showed you, etc., and let the experts determine what is relevant and not relevant." That was going to be my response to him. So I go over to post that, and the video is gone. And I'm like, "Okay, did I get blocked?" Because my comments started to get, I mean, hundreds, like, it was I was like, "Whoa." Um, so he can see what other people are saying under his video. He can see the reactions and the responses to my comment. So the video is gone, but nevertheless, in my notifications, I can still see his response to me. So I take a screenshot of it. And after, a little bit of investigation, I determined, okay, well, I haven't been blocked. He either took the video down or he privated it. And so I said, I'm gonna send him a message. Now, I don't follow this person. This person doesn't follow me. I don't know if you are familiar with TikTok or not, but when you are not mutually following somebody, you have the opportunity to send them one message, and that's it. And if they don't accept it, if you don't follow them, they don't follow you back, then that's just it. You have the opportunity. You had the opportunity. They have to accept your message. This becomes relevant. They have to accept your message in order to interact with you. Okay. And so I get a notification because I sent him a message. And this is what I said. And you're going to tell me at what point you think this interaction goes off the rails and who takes it off the rails. Okay. This is what I said. Hi, on behalf of attempted femicide survivors everywhere, contact law enforcement. It's not enough that they're already talking to him. You have an obligation to share the full details of your interactions, his comments, etc., with the people who are actually experts in determining what is and isn't relevant. True crime should have at least taught people that much. Thanks. Then I get a notification. Message request accepted. You can start chatting. He says back to me, yeah, that's all fully being done. And I don't know where you got the idea it wasn't. My response is lengthy. Based on the comment you posted in response to me and then deleted, it's unfortunate that you're defensive and reading my message to you as some sort of attack when it's a sincere and private request. Since you said you hadn't thought of it, I screenshotted the reply and then privately messaged you. I didn't do that thing people do on TikTok where they dox someone and make a video. So that's why it's more than reasonable for not just me, but other commenters pointing out several problems and concerns with the video. Next time, maybe for your consideration, be vulnerable and respectful to someone being vulnerable and respectful to you. Take care. This is his response to me. I've had a very long day. I work and go to school 7 days a week. I haven't done anything wrong whatsoever. I don't feel bad about venting on TikTok about what I've experienced. I've done absolutely nothing wrong. You capitalized. You messaged me with force and then got mad when I returned the same energy. I will do everything on my part. Thank you. I went to bed, so I didn't see that until this morning, but he actually sent that to me last night. So this was my response this morning. Right. So you're extremely defensive, and that's fine. I think that just reinforces the fact that you don't really care about violence against women because I explicitly said to you on more than one instance that I'm not attacking you. that I was concerned that maybe you didn't understand the significance of what it was that you posted. But you obviously do because suddenly it's gone. And now you are the victim. So thank you very much for this communication and for confirming the original suspicion that the murder of women is just entertainment to you, and everyone should really just be centering you in this situation because your life is so hard and you are so severely traumatized by this situation. And because I know you haven't contacted anybody in law enforcement, I'm going to make sure they have your information. I know you're busy centering yourself, but you never really know the people who can see your videos. And it's unfortunate that you would just try and belittle someone and dismiss them because you place a disproportionate amount of importance on yourself in this situation as if you are a victim or being attacked. This situation isn't about you. And I didn't contact you with force. I didn't come to your home. I didn't come to your job. I didn't come to your school. I used the means that TikTok provides for people to message each other. And you would have never seen my message if you didn't accept it because that's how TikTok works. I understand that life must be super challenging for you as a student. I'm almost 50 and I remember what it was like. I wish you well with that and all of your future endeavors, and I hope that you continue to grow as a person and as a reasonable man who works to tear down misogyny and violence towards women instead of using it for clicks and likes. I'm not done. The University of Washington has excellent anti racism training, and maybe you can learn more about microaggressions and what it actually means to accuse a Black woman of violently contacting you. When in fact, you welcomed the communication, which had no cuss words, which had no threats, which had nothing but a request to you on behalf of people and as someone who has survived attempted femicide. The university also has an excellent women's studies program where you can learn more about that as well, since you don't believe Black women. His response: "You're literally attacking me. I don't care about Black women. The same person who has literally marched in Seattle and participated in protests and been shot by rubber bullets standing up for our rights. You don't know what I identify as. You don't know what I stand for. You don't know what I've done. You quite literally don't know anything. The way you're speaking is disgusting. I don't even know what race you are. You have no pictures, no videos. How does any of this relate to you? I have 72 videos on YouTube, and in about 65 of them is my face. How does any of this relate to you? You're literally trying to make this about you. Shameful." And then I responded: "Hi, Dayton. You're very emotional and defensive, which is a typical response for being called in about active white supremacy, trying to shame me, trying to prove that you are a consistent ally through past actions, etc., and so forth. None of those things are proof that you are an anti-racist, or more to the point, that you have contacted law enforcement about a suspected murderer and the potential evidence that he showed you. Nevertheless, since you want to detract from the main focus and continue to attack me, and since we're going to go ahead and lay down qualifications for calling out microaggressive anti-Black misogynistic behavior, I'm actually the subject matter expert on this. So I don't need for you to agree with me for me to be right about my assessment and concerns about your behavior. Your messages only show that my concerns are valid because every time I bring up something valid, you pivot to attacking. This is a textbook defensive mechanism to being called in. Instead of actually actively being an ally, you continue to attack. I hope that in the future, you learn to do better But make no mistake, your ignorance is not my responsibility. I'm not doing the labor for you. Touch grass or be blessed or whatever it is that the kids say these days. I'm going to go ahead and mute notifications because you have simply proven that my outreach to you was pointless, as you seem to be committed to demonizing and attacking women or using them for your own entertainment. That's a part of who you are as well. Your present impression doesn't matter. So he posted on his TikTok. I deleted the video because I shouldn't have posted it in the first place. I was extremely hungover and I was venting to my phone when I should have just told a close friend and law enforcement. There's also a chance that this would be a distraction because supposedly they've already talked to him. I don't want anything getting in the way of an investigation or justice, so I felt in my gut it was best to take it down. I apologize sincerely. I will mention the conversation we had to law enforcement. Thank you, everyone, for your concern and help. Mimi Angel, he wanted the fame from TikTok. Then he saw the outrage because of his flippant way to share his experience. Too bad for him. He encountered someone who gave him advice, then challenged him. I think it's hilarious that he says, I'll mention my conversation to law enforcement. Oh, what, in passing? In passing? As you like what? Uber Eats deliver the dozen from Krispy Kreme? You're just going to mention it in passing? That's not how it works. You didn't think making this video would be interference with the investigation? I didn't want it to become a distraction. Do you see what a concerned and compassionate citizen he is? Do you see? Do you see? He's going to make sure that he mentions it in passing, because isn't that what you do when you potentially have materially relevant information on an ongoing murder case, or may have yourself handled the murder weapon in question? Now your fingerprints are on it? Yeah, that's all fully being done, and I don't know where you got the idea it wasn't. Dayton, I didn't say this in my private messages to you, but you are a dumb fuck, arrogant prick of a man. Gavel. Baby, what do I look like? Boo Boo the Fool? My Rolodex run deep, especially in this state. That's why I told him, you never know who's watching your videos. Maybe he's the suspect in the murder, actually. Maybe that was all just his story about how his prints wound up on the weapon. I'm supposed to take anything he says as gospel? No, he could be making up the whole entire thing for clicks and likes. So that's why reason and stupid can't sit at the same table. This is what happens when let me hoe myself for public attention crashes up against real life fucking consequences. You're talking about the murder of a woman in the world who had a family, who cared about her. But oh my God, can you imagine what I went through sitting with this man in an open, safe space with many witnesses around me? Can you imagine what I went through? Me. I mean, sir, one thing that I've noticed is you're still alive after that encounter. And allegedly, a woman is not because of her encounter with the same man. This is a motherfucking word right here. I'm bulletproof. Sheesh. Yeah, yeah. Because, baby, it ain't about me, but it is about my Rolodex. You can ask about anybody and they'll vouch for that. Dumbass. Let me get this document together. Shout out to, again, those who have asked me about this new lawsuit that has come on to a docket in Harris County, Texas. Somebody also emailed me so that I could see what it was, so that when I went looking for it myself, I made sure that I had the right thing. So appreciate you all for that. And again, thank you for your patience. Thanks for letting me go through, my little story time. I see we're all gathered. It took a little bit longer than I didn't realize how much I had to say to that young-ish man. Well, I guess if Lil Wayne was a young black man robbed of the opportunity to show the world his talent, this man also qualifies as a young man. Also, Dayton, how you identify racially has absolutely not a fucking thing to do with how you treat black women, how you address black women, how you view black women, how you view what happens to women in general. Has no impact there. You don't weight the scale in your favor with that horse shit. I looked him up. He is 34. Don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. I blame the poor environment, I think it's environmental impact. That's what I think we're dealing with here. So, here we are. We have documents. And shout out to everybody who's watching. Hit the like button and share this live now that we're getting into it. That's a good one, Chris with a K. It's all that women attacking him with such force that aged him. This nigga said, "She threatened me. She threatened me. Arrest her. She threatened me."
High five. I'm bulletproof.
She forcefully messaged me. Did you accept the message? Yeah. Did you block her after that? No. Arrogant fucking dumb fuck. All right. Let me get off that because if that was not an exercise in absence restraint, that entire exchange, yes, I've been practicing real hard for the comment section under the Nikki video of not just being like, "You are a dumb fuck of a biscuit head," but actually trying to, elaborate, enunciate my point. So anyway, this is a civil case in Harris County, Texas, against Milagro Gramz, uh, Airbnb, Alexander Jeffries, Texas Premium Rentals, and John Doe's 1 and 2. It is filed by Jordan Thomas and Antonio Tolefree or Tolefree. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. I'm going with the phonetic, hooked on phonics, real simple like. So the first thing that I had to do when I opened this and started to read it was close it again because I didn't have time for it, and then wait a couple days, and then open it again because off jump, I said, "I know this name." This name, Antonio Tolefree. I said, "I know this name. I've seen it in a court document, and I don't have time to figure out which one it is, but I need to figure this out so I can figure out who he is." So last night, I pulled the last wrinkles of my brain together and started searching through the literal hundreds of documents that I have on my computer to figure out who is this man and where have I seen his name before. He is a witness. He's on the list. We looked at it here before. He is a witness in Megan Thee Stallion versus Milagro Gramz, and he is a witness for Megan Thee Stallion. So I said, okay, at least I know where it is that I have seen this name before. He has already, to my understanding, based on what has been filed, no, I do not have a copy, been deposed by Megan's attorneys. And it's reasonable to assume that as a part of his deposition, he has also, you know, uh, well, superseding that, he was subpoenaed. We can assume that, right? That he received a subpoena. We've looked at subpoenas in this case before. Thank you again, Aiden Ross and DJ Academics for that. Anyway, we can reasonably assume that he received a subpoena to be deposed and then to also hand things over, documentation, communications, etc. We've not seen any struggle from him in doing so, so we can assume reasonably that he has done all of these things. And now, that's what I said, and it's good to see you. I love the exchange that we had. This is not the person that I was referring to when I said I was being real extra patient in the comment section of the Nikki video. Nevertheless, I'm very glad to have had the exchange that we had in the comment section of the Nikki video. That just warmed my heart, restored a little bit of faith, in that we can have these out of sync yet, back and forth exchanges with each other and clarify points without devolving into, you know. So glad to see you. So Okay. You mean the pinned one? We'll come back to it. Yeah. It's been an interesting year for her. So, I didn't realize that apparently she's married. Is this true? This whole time? She been married? We haven't gotten there yet, but Airbnb is being sued because they, uh, rented out the property where this took place. Hey, hey, hey! Now this just warms my heart. I'm stunned by this. I am quite honestly stunned by this. In my head, okay, in my head, I have envisioned a woman, right, wrong, or otherwise. Okay, this is just a little dollhouse in my head of the internet. Okay, in my head, Milagro is a single woman. She's a single woman in her late 20s to early 30s. Vivacious, feisty like. She live in a nice little cute little condo somewhere in Texas. She a little fashionista, and she a rage baiter. Now let me tell you something. If it is your job to fight for people, it don't matter what gender they are. Okay? It don't matter what gender they are. And now I'm not saying this is true. I'm not one to gossip, okay? I'm not one to gossip, but I do know that the streets been done thought because y'all leave comments and remark on these things in lives. The streets been done said. And again, this ain't me. Let me invoke Josh Johnson. Look, 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 look. Now listen. The streets been done said that they've had questions about Milagro Gram's relationship to Sunstar Peterson. Nevertheless, okay, that aside, if it is your job, your professional job as an attorney, as an advocate, as a strategist, as a PR crisis manager, whatever, to fight for someone, don't matter what their gender is. But if you married and you got 2 kids, you traveling halfway across the country to be somewhere every day, sit in a courtroom every day. You're welcome, Mickey Perry. And no judgment on that. My baby's got different daddies. So, I'm the first one to be say I'm not gonna be a hypocrite on that, okay? I know some of you are like, "My stars!" Yes, it's true. It's true. So you mean to tell me while he was off fighting for our freedom, she was fighting for a Canadian? I don't know, it feels un-American to me. It feels un-American. Anyway, all of that, because again, I don't pay attention to this woman. I don't follow her. I'm not checking for what she's saying in between. Y'all know I only care what's on the docket. And when I first heard about this, because I heard about it when it first popped up last week, I was like, I don't care. Quite frankly, I don't care. And even when I said, okay, let me go and get these fucking documents, I wasn't convinced that I cared. I was just like, let me go ahead and read what it is so that I know, because I know that people, they've already brought it up to me. They're going to bring it up in the future. So let me have a frame of reference for it. It wasn't until I saw the name of one of the, come on, mouse work, one of the people who filed the lawsuit, Antonio Tolefree, that I said, oh, I'm immediately interested because I know that name. And then when I went back and was like, what are the documents I've looked at in the past 2 months to find his name? It was on the witness list for Megan Thee Stallion in her lawsuit against Milagro Gramz. I said, I'm interested. And here we are. Here we are. Okay. Now I'm going to keep the document small because I know that there is sensitive text in it. I have done some redactions of personally sensitive text, but the nature of the lawsuit is intimate violence. So, Jordan Thomas and Antonio Tolefree versus Airbnb, Milagro Cooper, Mob Radio, Alexander Jeffries, Texas Premium Rentals, and John Doe's 1 and 2. Come now, plaintiffs Jordan Thomas and Antonio Tolefree, and file their petition for damages against defendants, and would respectfully show this court as follows. Okay, so they have their discovery plan. Parties. Jordan Thomas is a Texas citizen residing in Harris County. Antonio Tolefree, Texas citizen, also Harris County. At the time of the events giving rise to this lawsuit, plaintiffs were happily married. Defendant Milagro Elizabeth Cooper, aka Milagro Gramz, Texas citizen. Mob Radio LLC is a domestic limited liability company authorized to do business in Texas. Its registered agent is Milagro Cooper. Alexander Jeffries, I'm assuming that's the husband, is a Texas citizen who may be served at Texas. Premium Rentals LLC is a domestic limited liability company authorized to do business in Texas. Airbnb is a Delaware corporation with a principal place of business in San Francisco. John Doe 1 is a defendant in this case, and his or her true name is presently unknown, but will be added once discovered. John Doe 2 is a defendant in this case, and his or her true name is presently unknown, but will be added once discovered. Jurisdiction. Plaintiffs, prior to the sadistic and dehumanizing exploitation by the defendants, were married. Interesting. I've never listened to it. Never will. But interesting. Defendant Milagro and Camp Mob, collectively the Milagro defendants, plan, host, organize, and manage an event called Camp Mob. Camp Mob is a fan engagement kickback which has undeniably commercial purposes. For example, gathering the Milagro defendants fan base, promoting and marketing their brand, and maintaining engagement of their base. These efforts and Camp Mob specifically are intended to support Milagro defendants' efforts to monetize their platforms and social media content. Camp Mob is an annual event. Milagro defendants host the event at a different venue each year. Plaintiffs had attended a Camp Mob event in the past. However, those prior events were uneventful and free of abuse or misconduct. Accordingly, plaintiffs had no reason to foresee that the November 2023 event would be conducted in a negligent or abusive manner. In attending, plaintiffs reasonably relied upon the Milagro defendants' presentations and advertisements regarding the nature, safety, and purpose of the event. Plaintiffs and other guests were invited through Milagro defendants' online platforms, for example, Stationhead, Discord, Twitch, Spotify, and podcasts. Plaintiff Antonio Tolefree first became aware of Milagro Cooper and her platform Mob Radio through his spouse, Jordan, who listened to broadcasts while working from home. Plaintiffs later promoted their candle business on the Mob Radio platform, and from there, Plaintiff Tolefree's relationship with Milagro defendants deepened through continued interactions, including his custom wig making business and participation in related online broadcasts. This particular camp mob was held November 2 through 6, 2023. The intimate assault of plaintiff Thomas occurred during the night of November 3rd, continuing into the early morning hours of November 4. Camp Mob is ostensibly a party, but the Milagro defendants are not merely social hosts. This was not the first Camp Mob event. In this particular case, however, the Milagro defendants rented the venue, a single-family home, from Airbnb. The venue's address, okay. The venue's owner is Texas Premium Rentals LLC. Milagro defendants instructed guests that they could not use personal cell phones during Camp Mob. Plaintiffs learned after the fact that this had two intended purposes. One, ensuring that the Milagro defendants had exclusive content from Camp Mob. And two, preventing guests from summoning help while John Doe 1 and John Doe 2 committed the sexual assault upon plaintiff Thomas. Milagro defendants orchestrated the environment and recorded the assault for their own profit. Milagro defendants and Jeffries controlled the camp mob environment and directed and encouraged heavy alcohol consumption, a practice they referred to as turning up. God. Legal documents are so crazy. A practice they referred to as turning up. John Doe 1 and John Doe 2 were invited guests of Milagro Cooper and their participation in the event. This is a civil, not a criminal case. Okay? Okay, so John Doe 1 and John Doe 2 were invited guests of Milagro Cooper, and their participation in the event was the direct result of Milagro's actions in creating and controlling the environment. Milagro defendants directed that guests bring alcohol. Milagro defendants encouraged guests to consume an excessive amount of alcohol and use marijuana and THC vape pens. Guests consumed these substances as directed and encouraged by Milagro defendants. Milagro defendants introduced a drinking game Carisha Please Risha Roulette, which required guests to drink shots of liquor for each card drawn. As far as plaintiffs were concerned, this was to be a promotional party and not an invitation to provide content to the Milagro defendants. There was no production team present. This Camp Mom event was not marketed as a mock reality TV show or one that was intended to generate content to be exploited by Milagro defendants. Plaintiffs were not asked to execute liability waivers, consent forms, regarding the use of their image and likeness. Camp Mob did not have any form of security. Camp Mob included other events, for example, a wine tasting event earlier in the day. The express purpose of the wine tasting event was to ensure Camp Mob guests were intoxicated so that the Milagro defendants could exploit them. Camp Mob also included a group meal at the Breakfast Club. Milagro defendants Jeffries and John Doe's 1 and 2 acted in concert to exploit plaintiffs by separating them, ensuring they consumed excessive quantities of alcohol such that they would be incapable of consent or self-protection. Trespassing plaintiff's private and secure bedroom at the venue, physically assaulting and committing battery against Jordan Thomas, engaging him in explicit sexual conduct, recording that conduct, and later publishing it on various social media platforms. The Milagro defendants, the Milagro defendants and Jeffries conspired together to exploit plaintiffs for commercial gain. In furtherance of this conspiracy and sexual exploitation, Milagro defendants instructed Jeffries to separate Thomas from Tolefree by telling Tolefree that he had to leave with him in order to handle a food delivery while they were at the winery. The purpose of this ruse was to separate Tolefree from Thomas so that Thomas would consume excessive quantities of alcohol and be removed from someone that could protect or otherwise look out for him. The Milagro defendants and Jeffries continued their exploitation and manipulation later that afternoon when Milagro encouraged plaintiff Tolefree to cast some shade or otherwise mess with a guest about the quality of her wig. Tolefree expecting it to be taken in good humor or providing a spark to the gathering. Not knowing what he was getting himself into, Tolefree followed their guidance. That led to a heated argument between Tolefree and this guest. Incredulously, Milagro defendants and Jeffries asked Tolefree to leave the venue for the very conduct they had just asked him to execute. Recognizing that he was being manipulated, Tolefree and Jeffries argued about the request to leave. At this time, Milagro defendants are recording the whole thing and offering commentary. For example, ooh, they are fighting, they are leaving, end quote. This argument was later posted on various social media platforms without Tolefree's consent. As directed by the host, Tolefree left the venue, thereby leaving his spouse in a vulnerable position that Milagro defendants Jeffries and John Doe's 1 and 2 would exploit. Shortly thereafter, as directed by Milagro defendants and Jeffries, John Doe 1 sat on Thomas's lap. Thomas, by this point, was completely lacking the ability to consent, and that inability was clearly obvious to all around him. John Doe 1, without Thomas's consent, put his hands on Thomas and physically took him upstairs to a bedroom, locking the door behind them, where John Doe 2 was already present. Throughout this time, John Doe 1 made derogatory and demeaning hand gestures. Milagro defendants used a nail to pick the lock and violate Thomas's privacy. John Doe's 1 and 2 intimately assaulted Thomas after removing his clothes. Thomas is unconscious, and during this entire episode, Milagro defendants are video recording the entire assault and crime. Milagro defendants would later brag that she could pick the lock very easily using a nail as it was a basic interior bedroom lock. As if this dehumanizing and criminal assault were not enough, these same defendants further exploited Thomas, orchestrating a coerced confessional/apology video. At the time, Thomas was unaware that a sexual assault had even taken place and, due to his extreme intoxication and incoherence, agreed to send Milagro a video stating that he did not remember what had occurred. In this state, Thomas was incapable of giving consent or protecting himself from further abuse. After Camp Mob and without plaintiff's consent or authorization, Milagro defendants posted non-consensual explicit footage of plaintiff Thomas and John Doe's 1 and 2 on various social media platforms, for example, YouTube, Discord, Twitch, and Stationhead. These same defendants posted again without authorization the events involving Tolefree and the guest wearing a wig. Much of Milagro defendants' exploitation and invasion of plaintiffs' privacy, including key admissions about their conduct, was self-reported on the Stationhead platform, including broadcasts entitled All Things Go on November 6, 2023, and Huh on May 17, 2025. In that content, Milagro defendants confessed to the unlawful entry into the bedroom and recording of Thomas. Milagro defendants and Jeffries reaped financial reward and remuneration in the form of subscriptions and donations on Twitch, Stationhead, Spotify, Cash App, and Discord. They also received audience payments and event participation. Milagro defendants subsequently removed the content upon learning that plaintiff Tolefree would be deposed in a lawsuit filed by Megan Pete against Milagro. And there it comes together. And there it comes together. And, based on her preponderance for destroying evidence, the one thing that we can reasonably assume from reading this document is that these attorneys have screenshots or screen recordings, I should say, of the videos in question. And we don't know if they've filed any police reports or not. I did not read this whole document. I went through the first 2 pages, and then I was like, I need to figure out who Antonio Tolefree is because I know I have seen that name. And yes, a witness. Um, a witness. So, sometime after May of this year is when he went through his deposition and she started taking down this specific content. So, Milagro defendants subsequently removed this content upon learning that plaintiff Tolefree would be deposed in a lawsuit filed by Megan Pete against Milagro. Megan Pete sued Milagro for spreading false and harassing content, including sexually explicitly deepfake videos, which Milagro encouraged her followers to share and engage with, and engaged in a years-long campaign of harassment against Miss Pete. And then case information. Oh, July 22nd. Tolefree was deposed on July 22nd, 2025 by plaintiffs that noticed the deposition. Defendants' conduct caused plaintiffs to get divorced. Okay, this goes through Airbnb, and their responsibility. Airbnb has clearly been telling these lawyers that they don't have any liability in this situation actually because they're not responsible for the property. That's what I would imagine the behind closed doors interactions and conversations have been about because that's what they address here of why Airbnb should in fact be a liable party. Airbnb failed to implement adequate safety measures that could have prevented plaintiffs' injuries. For example, deficient screening procedures and ensuring safety policies are followed. Another civil conspiracy. My God, this woman is at the center of now 2 alleged conspiracies. Shout out to everybody who's watching. Hit the like button. And Redfin. I'd love for Redfin to go out of business. Airbnb and Redfin. So, civil conspiracy. Defendants, along with John Doe 1 and John Doe 2 and/or other unnamed parties, acted in concert and with a meeting of the minds to commit unlawful acts, including invasion of privacy, battery, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Each defendant is jointly and severally liable for all acts committed in furtherance of the conspiracy. Defendants, through their actions or inaction, caused and contribute to plaintiffs' damages by failing to have adequate procedures for the protection and safety of guests, failing to discover and correct dangerous conditions, failing to properly maintain their premises, encouraging, facilitation, or negligently permitting the excessive consumption of alcohol and/or illicit substance without oversight or safety protocols, provoking or instigating emotional distress between attendees for the purpose of manipulation and control, entering a private and locked space without consent and unlawfully invading plaintiff's privacy, capturing video and/or audio recordings of plaintiff while unconscious, unclothed, and vulnerable without consent or legal justification, publishing, broadcasting, or otherwise disseminating explicit materials without consent in violation of plaintiff's rights to privacy, dignity, and bodily autonomy, monetizing and publicly promoting unlawful recordings on various platforms for personal, financial, and reputational gain, failing to properly supervise and/or train its personnel and/or those personnel employed or hired by others for whom they are responsible, failing to identify or disclose the identities of individuals potentially involved in the sexual assault of plaintiff despite having access to RSVP and attendee data, and mocking, ridiculing, and defaming plaintiffs via public broadcast, including by making explicit admissions of unlawful conduct during live audio recordings. Count 1, premises liability. Count 2, invasion of privacy by misappropriation. Milagro defendants, Jeffries and John Doe's 1 and 2, misappropriated plaintiff's likeness by recording them at Camp Mob, that's the typo, and disseminating those recordings on various online platforms. They did so for the value associated with it. Plaintiffs can be identified in the various recordings. Count 3, invasion of privacy by intrusion upon seclusion or into one's private affairs. Wow. Milagro defendants Jeffries and John Doe's 1 and 2 violated plaintiff's right to be left alone. These defendants intentionally intruded upon plaintiff's bedroom, that is, Thomas's solicitude and seclusion while in an impaired state. These intrusions were unreasonable and violate basic standards for human conduct. Count 4, invasion of privacy by public disclosure of embarrassing private facts. They publish matters concerning plaintiff's personal life after camp mob and without plaintiff's consent or authorization. These defendants posted non-consensual explicit footage of plaintiff Thomas and John Doe's 1 and 2 on various social media platforms, for example, YouTube, Discord, etc. These same defendants posted again without authorization the events involving Tolefree and the guest wearing the wig. Again, this was all self-reported in videos that they made. Count 5, intentional infliction of emotional distress. Intentionally or recklessly sought to inflict severe emotional harm and damage to plaintiffs. This intentional conduct is described already. Their conduct was so extreme and outrageous that it goes beyond all possible bounds of decency and should be regarded as atrocious and utterly intolerable in a civilized community. These actions caused plaintiffs extreme emotional distress. Count 6, negligence and gross negligence. Defendants had a duty to exercise reasonable care. Plaintiffs suffered dehumanizing and severe injuries as a proximate cause of defendants' multiple failures to exercise reasonable care. Count 7, negligence per se and dram shop liability. Defendants provided, encouraged, permitted, or didn't prevent the excessive consumption of alcohol by plaintiff Thomas, who was so obviously intoxicated that he presented a clear danger to himself and others. Plaintiff's intoxication is the proximate cause of the damages plaintiffs suffered, which are described throughout their petition. Count 8, battery. Count 9, trespass. Count 10, breach of contract. This is Airbnb. Count 11, loss of consortium. Oh my God. This is fascinating. Okay, listen to this, y'all. At the time of the wrongful acts described above, the plaintiffs were married. As a direct and proximate result, I was wondering why they were filing this together as a as divorcees, because obviously I don't live in Texas, so I'm more familiar with some civil proceedings here, but I remember a case of a family that was suing a hospital over the death of their child. We actually talked about it here. Um, Through the process of what they went through with the hospital and the death of their child, they got a divorce. And one of the things that the hospital, I mean, dragged them for months through every single hearing you can imagine, stalling and trying to bleed their money resources for the case, was just like, well, they're not married anymore, so they need to sue us separately. And that was something that the court actually had to figure out. So that was the first thing that came to my mind when I saw that these two used to be married but aren't anymore. I thought to myself, "Huh, I wonder how that's viewed in Texas." And we're about to learn how that's viewed in Texas in relation to this particular case. As a direct and proximate result of the defendant's intentional, reckless, and negligent acts, including assault, battery, invasion of privacy, and public humiliation of Thomas, Tolefree has suffered a loss of consortium. Under Texas law, a claim for loss of consortium arises when a third party's tortuous conduct results in the loss or significant diminishment of love, companionship, comfort, affection, solace, moral support, fleshly communication, and assistance from a spouse. The defendant's conduct directly contributed to the irreparable breakdown of the plaintiff's marriage and the resulting divorce. Defendant's assault, humiliation, and subsequent publication of non-consensual images of Thomas shattered the foundational elements of the marital relationship between plaintiffs. The trauma and degradation inflicted on Thomas irreparably damaged the couple's emotional, physical, and intimate connection. In particular, Tolefree was manipulated was mun In particular, Toll-Free was manipulated and deceived by the Milagro defendants and Jeffries, who intentionally separated him from his spouse, creating the very opportunity for the heinous acts that followed. He was instructed to leave the venue under false pretenses and, upon returning, discovered the devastating consequences of defendants' calculated and depraved actions. We don't know if it is or is not. We don't know if they filed a criminal complaint. We don't know if they went through an evaluation or if a kit was collected. We don't know if it's still under investigation. We only know what we can see in this civil docket. We don't know. We don't know. We don't know. Yeah, and, y'all know how I feel about the state of Texas. So, it's also not lost on me that, uh, this is a gay couple, and it's men, and it's Black men, and it's Texas. Would I love to believe that they would be treated with the same sensitivity and care and urgency as a cis hetero white woman? No, I'm not delusional. So we don't know. We just don't know. As a result of the assault and defendant's ongoing exploitation, Thomas suffered profound emotional distress and trauma, rendering him unable to maintain the mutual affection, companionship, and emotional and physical intimacy that once existed within the marriage. The emotional toll on Toll-Free has been equally profound. He has suffered loss of comfort, affection, moral support, fleshly communication, and the stability of the marriage. He has also endured guilt, shame, and psychological harm arising from his inability to protect his spouse and from witnessing the aftermath of the assault and public dissemination of private, degrading footage. Ultimately, the irreparable harm caused by defendant's conduct contributed directly to the dissolution of plaintiff's marriage. Toll-Free seeks recovery for loss of consortium and prays for judgment against defendants for damages in an amount to be determined at trial, including mental anguish, loss of companionship and services, and all other relief to which he is justly entitled under the law. Damages for plaintiff Jordan Thomas. Defendants inflicted serious, dehumanizing, and incurable injuries to Thomas, including physical pain and suffering, past, physical pain and suffering, future, mental pain and suffering, past, mental pain and suffering, future, loss of enjoyment of life and inconvenience, punitive and exemplary damages, attorney's fees, legal interest from the date of judicial demand, and all costs and expenses incurred in the prosecution of this litigation. Moreover, as a result of the conduct and incidents described herein, Thomas has sustained medical and counseling expenses in the past and in all reasonable probability will sustain medical and counseling expenses in the future. Thomas has experienced severe psychological pain and suffering in the past and in all reasonable probability, will sustain severe psychological pain and suffering in the future as a result of his psychological injuries. Thomas has sustained loss of earning capacity in the past, and in all reasonable probability, will sustain loss of earning capacity in the future. Damages for plaintiff Antonio Tolefree. Defendants inflicted serious, dehumanizing, and incurable injuries to Tolefree, including physical pain and suffering past, physical pain and suffering future, mental pain and suffering past, mental pain and suffering future, loss of enjoyment of life and inconvenience, punitive and exemplary damages, attorney's fees, legal interest from the date of judicial demand, all costs of court and expenses incurred in the prosecution of this litigation, medical and counseling expenses in the past, and medical and counseling expenses in the future. The defendants are hereby given notice that any document or other material, including electronically stored information that may be evidence or relevant to any issue in this case, is to be preserved in its present form until this litigation is concluded. Plaintiffs cannot afford to pay the costs of this proceeding in advance or as they accrue, and should be permitted to pursue this matter without the prepayment of costs or the payment of costs as they accrue, pursuant to Texas Rules of Civil Procedure. Plaintiffs pray that they be granted a trial by jury. Defendants be ordered to produce for inspection within 30 days the original or a certified copy of all insurance policies which may provide coverage for the personal injuries and damages complained of herein and which were in effect on the date of the subject incident. Defendants be duly cited and served with a copy of this petition for damages. After all legal delays and due proceedings be had, there be judgment rendered herein in favor of plaintiffs and against defendants jointly, severally, and in solido, in the full and true sum of an amount reasonable in the premises to be proven at the trial, including damages for bodily injury, property damages, pain and suffering, mental anguish, and on the merits of this matter, plus legal interest thereon, from the date of judicial demand until paid for all costs of these proceedings and for all other just and equitable relief. And they be given notice of judgment, trial, and all steps and actions taken in this litigation pursuant to the Texas Rules of Civil Procedure. Defendants are indebtedly joined severally and in solido unto plaintiffs for an amount reasonable in the premises and all costs of these proceedings plus legal interest from the date of judicial demand until paid. Translation: we are coming for your whole ass. So is putting the document retention notice in a public document, because I have no doubt that attorneys have noticed Milagro Gramz a document retention notification already. But now here's one plain public as a part of the lawsuit. Chris with a K, thank you. I was like, what is this about? It was about my story time at the beginning of this live. Appreciate you. Demetrius coming through with the 5 AFL memberships. I love to see that. Just be yapping, docket fund tides. Thank you, child. Thank you. So, we'll see where this goes, right? And if Milagro herself can muster up any legal representation to help her and her husband deal with this situation. The other entities are immediately going to move for a motion to dismiss, or change of venue, or whatever, it is that they're going to try and do to make this case go away. That's going to be their first order of business. Milagro Gramz' problem is she needs legal counsel. And apparently so does her husband. So that's tricky. If he is still active duty, this could be problematic for him on that level. If they ever become aware that this incident has happened and he was there, that may become problematic for him at that level. I wonder if at any point in time between this case and the actual Megan Thee Stallion versus Milagro Gramz lawsuit, we will learn why Megan felt that this Antonio Tolefree was of value to her case to be a witness in her lawsuit. But that connection is very clearly there. He went through with his deposition on July 22nd, probably handed over a bunch of screenshots of stuff as well. There was something else I was going to say. Oh, yeah, that's right. Daystar Peterson lost. He lost like a bitch. He lost. Daystar Peterson had filed a motion in California to try and get out of his continued deposition as ordered by the Southern District of Florida. Remember that? Remember we read the second volume of his deposition where they never even got off a single question because they spent 90 minutes arguing about whether or not he had counsel in his first deposition. Oh, I got a lot of biscuit head, dumbass fucking comments from bird bitches with no critical thought telling me I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. I put out a whole visual on the post tab from the document, and I'm gonna put out another visual about Nicki Minaj and Tracy Chapman because I got a bird bitch holding in the comment section right now. Right now. Every time I'm like, click here to look at the document. What document? That's not what it says. Fuck around and find out. You about to be Exhibit B. Anyway. Excuse my little rant there. I don't care. They provide teachable moments for everybody else who do read, who can go, oh, yeah, you dumb, baby. You dumb. Look, you dumb. So anyway, we read volume 2 where they literally ran in a circle the whole 90 minutes about he had a lawyer. Milagro Gramz' lawyer was suddenly jumping up. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Even though he abso-fucking-lutely did. Remember O'Sullivan? Rhonda? Remember that? Oh, that was so delicious. That was so delicious. What else happened? Oh, even the judge at that second round deposition told Tory Lane's lawyer, you gonna wind up right back here. You go do whatever you want in California. You gonna wind up right back here. Had his court staff during the deposition, go pull that document where it clearly shows that he had a lawyer, that he affirmed he had a lawyer, that et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. My man, my man, my man, my man, my man. My lawyer, my lawyer, my lawyer. I understand that, Mr. My Lawyer Man. I understand this, that, and the other. Remember, he pulled all that up in the deposition, and she was still like, where? He didn't have a lawyer. No way. Yeah, so anyway, here's volume 1 of his deposition, just for all you hoes that are watching. We know how you are. Hit the like button. There it is, right down there at the very bottom. Well, first of all, let's start at the top. Circle right there. See, Daystar Peterson. Yep, this is the round 1 deposition. We first got this a little while ago, right? But that's the round 1 deposition. His lawyer there is the one that everybody said wasn't his lawyer and wasn't actually there. Look, Mr. Hayden, who says, well, right now you are a witness being questioned and it's my job. Really, why would it be your job if you're not his lawyer? Oh, right, because you were his lawyer on that day. And then below that, the witness, again, Daystar Peterson says, I understand that. I understand that, Michael Hayden. Yeah, so anyway, California said, bitch, you had a lawyer. Go finish your fucking deposition. Bye. So that's coming up next week for him. Isn't that grand? Yeah. Who else lost? Livingston Allen also lost his attempt to squirm out of answering very specific questions in his deposition. The judge said, boy, if you don't go sit your ass down and answer them questions. So that happened. And then, of course, there was Aiden Ross, who filed a big and bad petition with the court in Florida. And 40 minutes later, the court threw it out and said, boy, if you don't pull yourself together and have your lawyers respond to this subpoena directly to Megan's counsel, get off my docket. Anyway, trial starts November 17th. So Megan is doubling, tripling, quadrupling down to the 11th hour to get everything she possibly can from these people, which includes their on-the-record displays of obstruction, which is evidence of a thing in and of itself, even though they think they're successfully playing hide the rainbow row. One month. And now we got this. Rock Nation! Yeah. You sure can. So there we go. We've been through it. We are in the know. And, overall, I think her biggest problem is that she's already fighting a case. And, her lawyer is, nah. And, she's probably going to lose that case. And now she's got this one. And this one's real serious. And it implicates her and her husband. And if she doesn't have effective counsel, she could get stuck holding on to this one. I mean, corporations will do all kinds of lawyering and find all kinds of things that show actually we shouldn't be sued for this, and they can get the cases dismissed against them. But they don't represent her. They don't give a fuck what happens to her biscuit hoe ass. Not one bit. No, you need your own lawyer for that. Or I guess you could fuck around and default, like somebody we know, and see how that works for you. So there's that. Tough titties for Miss Grams. Maybe. I mean, she's on his witness list. So she's going to be entering his deposition as testimony. And if she was able to secure any screenshots or documentation from him, then she's going to use that. But she doesn't need to establish a pattern of behavior to establish what happened to her. The two aren't really related in that sense. She doesn't need one to prove the other at all. So she doesn't need the details of this lawsuit to bolster her own claims about AI deepfake videos about her and Milagro promoting those videos on her platforms. This case, unless there's screenshots of private chats about it, it doesn't have any bearing. So it's more to the what does this individual who is now suing her, what is his pre-existing knowledge of this of Milagro's conduct towards Megan? Because Milagro just be flapping her gums to whoever. So it's reasonable to imagine that there are group chats or whatever between these people that existed at a time when they were on good terms, where she could be saying any number of things that are, in hindsight, incriminating to her in the lawsuit by Megan Thee Stallion. Man.
High five. I'm bulletproof.
The feds are not getting involved in this, and the state is not getting involved in this unless it is asked by the local jurisdiction to assist in some sort of way, and they have cause to do so. So, could, sure. Let's just deal with what we know we have. That's enough to eat from. We have a lawsuit that's going to trial next month, and now we have this. And there is some sort of material connection between Mr. Tolefree and both cases, if we're just going off of what is on the docket. Her full deposition is not available online. There's only excerpts of it, and that isn't on there. So, not on the docket anyway. If it has been posted somewhere else, I haven't seen it. If she has made claims about what she was asked, I don't believe a fucking thing she says. So, yeah, Meg has a ridiculous amount of evidence in her case. We went through the evidence document. It has over 400 pieces of evidence. Milagro has like 10. And then witnesses who are not going to show up for her and who she's never even deposed. She put Kylie Jenner as a witness. Girl, you're tripping. You're tripping. Antonio Tolefree is on Megan Thee Stallion's witness list in her lawsuit against Milagro Gramz. And according to this lawsuit filed by Antonio Tolefree and his ex-husband, he gave his deposition to Megan Thee Stallion's attorneys July 22nd of this year. That is just the ridiculous and laughable. And like, well, we haven't deposed this person on our witness list and we haven't deposed that person on our witness list. You don't put witness on the stand who you haven't deposed. That's not smart. That's not smart. Even if it is a friendly witness, if your attorneys haven't sat down and had a thorough explorative conversation with them about their knowledge of events or whatever evidence they have, you don't just put people on the stand. She's so fucking dumb. It's really annoying. You're welcome. I mean, we saw how her lawyer behaves in that second round deposition. This court doesn't have jurisdiction. He didn't have a lawyer. Bitch, you've lost your fucking mind. You're just willfully saying shit that isn't true. And as the judge is speaking, you're interrupting the judge. And as the judge is talking to somebody else, you're answering the questions like the judge is talking to you. Judge ain't talking to you. That shit was fucking infuriating. You want to talk about willful stupidity? Oh, that document read was fucking infuriating. I know the motherfucker had counsel. Why? We read it here. We read everything here. No, it's not obstruction. It's just stalling and wasting time. Right? And if they felt like it was having a material impact on the case, they would file a motion to compel. Or a motion to show cause. And Meg has done that. Her lawyers have been on people's asses. We said, "Give me this." And the judge said, "You gon' do that." You know? Oh, you're not? Well, let's go back and see what the judge thinks about that. That judge in California said, "Nice fucking try. Are you crazy? You didn't have a lawyer? You didn't have a lawyer." I've had some dumbasses say the only reason Tory Lane's deposition, the only reason Tory Lane's lawyer at the time, he's not his lawyer anymore, the only reason Tory Lane's lawyer was at the deposition was to make sure that he didn't incriminate himself in the deposition with regard to his appeal. Their argument being he's not representing Tory Lanez in this shit that's going on with Megan Thee Stallion. He's representing Tory Lanez in the shit that's going on in his appeal. Beloved, there is no distinguishing between the two. And your argument makes no fucking sense. And now I can talk shit to you like you're dumb because the judge said this shit has, you're kidding. You don't get to go to the deposition, sit there through the entire deposition. It's not like he just sat there quiet in the corner behind the table as an observer. He sat next to his fucking client, answered questions, objected to things that he was being asked, interacted with him, explained what his fucking job was in the room and why he was there, representing him in the deposition. You don't get to show up and function as a lawyer and then say, I'm not actually representing that dude. Motherfucker, you must think we all boo-boo the fool. Now, just because you a dumbass, is that what cooties does? Is it catch it? Do you catch it? Baby, I don't want it. Yes, she was sanctioned for willfully destroying shit. If some of the Discord info she deleted pertains to the new case, what happens? There's too much we don't know, okay? There's too much that we don't know. But let me give you what first comes to mind. If there winds up being a crossover in discovery, okay? You following me? If there winds up being a crossover in discovery, meaning that this new case seeks some of the same things that were sought in the existing case, and those things were destroyed, well, then they have a ruling already that they can use as evidence that those things were willfully destroyed so that they can't get access to them. What we don't know is, okay, when did these plaintiffs begin communicating with the defendants slash respondents? I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's in my experience, what is most common is that when you are going to take action against somebody in a formal venue, you have communicated with them in some capacity. When a lawyer is looking at something and they feel like, well, I'm going to take you on as a client, and we may wind up taking these people to court, one of the very first things that attorneys do is they send a letter to the target and say, hi, I'm attorney such and such, and I have been retained by such and such to blah, 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 blah. I'm going to be reaching out to you about yada, yada. You can reach out to me. In the meantime, pursuant to Washington State rules, federal rules, Texas rules, you are hereby noticed to preserve just the very language that we saw. Usually that happens very early on, well before an attorney is ready to file a case. But at the drop of, we probably going to sue these people, we need to notice them a document and evidence retention. So I'm saying all of that to say, these are the things that we don't know about this case, right? Did they have some initial communication? Did they issue in writing a notice to preserve? When did they do that? Later, if this survives all the motions that are going to come to get rid of it, right? Later, if they get into discovery, if they get that far, and they then start asking for things and they don't get it, and it starts to look like, oh, there's big holes here in information, separate from the holes in the Megan case where she spoiled things, but other places, new holes, right? New holes of data missing and evidence missing. Then they would go through the same process that Megan went through. They would go to the judge in the case and they would say, we have reason to believe that, because one of the things they would look at is they would want an expert to look at the devices and see when were these things taken off? Was it before or after they were noticed to preserve? If it was after, such as in the case with Megan's lawsuit, if it was after the notice to preserve, then it's reasonable for them to argue that it's an intentional spoliation of evidence. And they would just go through the same thing. They would ask for sanctions. They would ask for the ability to be able to give the jury a negative inference instruction, basically, an adverse inference instruction, which basically is an ability to tell the jury, this bitch destroyed evidence in this case, and you can only view that as intent to cover up malicious acts. That's massive. And Meg won that as a part of her sanctions, the ability to tell the jury, this bitch destroyed evidence, and you need to know that. And the only thing that you can infer from her destroying that evidence was that it was done maliciously to cover up exactly what it is that she's been sued for. That's massive. So Milagro's in deep shit. She's in deep shit. If it's not this, it's that. If it's not that, it's probably going to be something else at some point in time. I mean, the details of this new lawsuit are, I mean, I agree with the way that the lawyers described it. This is depraved behavior, if true. I have to say that I don't watch her, so I don't know I haven't seen what you have seen. Nevertheless, in the context of this lawsuit, it's alleged until it's proven. The line that the attorney wrote about a civil community, you all hear me talk about, a safe and civil society, a safe and sane society, this, that, and the other. So that really just resonated with me. And I also think that it's really, hold on a second, y'all. Sorry. Did you leave something at my door? Can you hear me? I'm behind you. Can you hear me? Nope, you can't hear me. All right, well, leave that alone for now. But anyway, sorry about that. I think one of the things that is honestly so interesting about this case is not just you hear that interruption? I tried to prevent it, and then it came anyway. Give me 2 minutes. I gotta run downstairs. I'll be right back. As I was saying, sorry about that. What makes this case so interesting is that they aren't just suing for all of the obvious things, right? They're suing because it destroyed their relationship in every way that you can destroy a relationship. They were married. That's no small thing. They were married, they had a life together, and that life is irrevocably broken and gone. I got a black clippy. 'Tis the season. Yes, this is a perfect time to check and make sure that you have actually liked the video. Thank you very much. But yeah, that makes this interesting. Well, the whole thing is interesting. It's also quite tragic. Dark purple lippy. Here comes Princey with his dramatic butt. And it's harrowing to read, you know? Ooh. Ooh. I'm gonna hurt somebody in this color. They gonna like it too. It's harrowing to read, and just think about how horrible it would be to be lured away from your spouse under false pretenses and come back to find out that they have been assaulted. No, Princey. Speaking of, oh, that actually came off pretty easily, mostly. If y'all have not already, and I think Marshall Irons, oops, that's not what I meant to do. I think Marshall Irons wanted to talk about this, if I recall correctly. God damn it, I keep pushing the wrong freaking button. There we go. Sheesh. If you haven't already, make sure you give this video some love this weekend. I worked an absurd amount of time on this video. I just want you to know. An absurd amount of time. I can't remember how long it took me to write it, but it took 12 hours to edit the video. Yeah, so, just, show it some love. Um, it was an interesting process to write. It's called Nicki Minaj is a demon hunter, demon hunter. Important qualifier there. Demon hunter. Okay. And this is the long ass comment that I believe. Aw, shucks. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. And you can't see it, and neither can I. Let me get over to that and look at it so that I can read it to y'all. And the comment will make sense to you even if you have not seen the video yet. So just give me a second. I gotta scroll. I gotta scroll. Okay, here it is. I found it. As I started off this live with story time and a good example of me practicing my patience. I said to myself yesterday, I'm gonna be patient with these people coming into the comment section today because I know I'm gonna get some outlandish shit. So this is what ethereal underscore charm had to say. And by the way, if ethereal charm pops up into the chat with some bullshit, do not ban her. Okay. You can time her out for 24, but don't ban her, because if you ban her, this pinned comment will go away under the video. And I want it to stay there. The only way it's going to go away is if she deletes it herself. We all have demons and angels around us. So you're pandering to people with literally zero spiritual knowledge who support a woman like Cardi, who openly brags about doing love spells on men on video and calling Black Baby a monkey and roach, who put a body of art she didn't create out named after the drama she wanted to manifest. So two demons are fighting each other. No, you take the side of the literal, openly evil one who talked about drugging and robbing men. Child, people like y'all make real a mockery out of God and true spiritualism. I'm sure you will delete this, but God sees. And I'm sure you are non-Black who wants to make up whatever to brush over Cardi being a racist who attempted to destiny swap with Nicki for years. Okay. So that's her comment. She also said in a separate comment, let me see if she said anything. Now make a video about how Cardi is an angel and gloss over her getting pregnant by a male rapist while pregnant, taking racist statements and having a funeral for Nicki on stage with a bunch of other people. You're truly ignorant, and clearly it's by choice, because the facts show she has reason to defend herself because people are attacking, have been for years. What would you do if people had a funeral for you while you are still alive? I mean, probably hit the Dougie a couple times because that sounds like it would be fire. But anyway, that's just me. But spiritual psychosis makes you dismiss facts. They go directly against what you are saying, and I'm nobody's fan, sure, but I'm a real spiritualist, sure, not someone who pretends to be to push narratives and chase clout. So she got all that out. This was my response to her and anybody. Okay. The reason why her comment is penned is because it was a great teachable moment of how stupid bullshit rhetoric doesn't work here. So here's my response. What stands out about this comment is its construction. It is a chain of red herrings and false equivalencies, an emotional diversion meant to pull the conversation away from analysis and into tribal loyalty. Instead of engaging with the argument about Nicki Minaj's use of religious language and persecution narratives, it reduces attention to Cardi B, as though another artist's behavior absolves Nicki's. The phrase two demons fighting each other reduces complex questions of power, accountability, and fandom into a moral cartoon of good and evil. This is the collapse explored in the video, where fandom transforms moral language into a shield for celebrity worship and disagreement becomes betrayal. The racial insinuation that I must be non Black or racially disloyal for analyzing a Black celebrity functions as rhetorical policing. It uses identity as a silencing tool, echoing the same pattern Nicki Minaj employs when she reframes accountability as persecution. The invocation of God to sanctify a pop star is not spirituality, but idolatry. Little Miss Real Spiritualist. What you know about idol worship? Oh, you're an expert. Right. The worship of a personality disguised as righteousness. The line God sees is deployed as emotional authority, a claim that feeling deeply is the same as being divinely correct. What this comment reveals, perhaps unintentionally, is that Minaj's demonology has filtered down to her followers. You have absorbed her theology of victimhood and learned to wield it in miniature, using faith, race, and moral outrage not to seek truth, but to defend a brand. Instead of addressing the merits of the points made in the commentary, you attempt to redirect the conversation through manipulation. Your reaction reveals not a defense of Nicki Minaj, but a defense of the version of yourself that needs her to be chosen. Her divinity validates your devotion. Her persecution justifies your own feelings of being overlooked or misunderstood. The conversation stops being about Nicki Minaj and becomes about your need for her divinity to be true. So, no, this comment won't be deleted. It's a perfect teachable example of the very points in the video. Thank you for watching. The people who talk about auras make me want to slap them. I see those comments. They're really prevalent on TikTok. They haven't quite invaded the YouTube space as much. I know it's a generational comment as well because they're not talking about aura like in the hippie sense. They're talking about aura in some bullshit sense. But her bitch, the whole thing is about you. The whole video is about your dumbass. The whole video breaks down the exact manipulation tactics you try in this comment, which for the record is 089 level basic bitch ass writing. You have no evidence of anything. And you are not an authority on a fucking thing. Not my blackness, not my spirituality, not my relationship with God, and certainly not my motherfucking intellect. And that's why you couldn't get with me on that level. Diaz for the docket fund. Also, instructions unclear. What do I do to destiny swap? How? How indeed? How indeed? Just be yapping. Thank you. Beautiful. Appreciate you. I mean, you can only say stupid so many times, so many different ways. Critical thinking. Critical thinking. Lord have mercy. And then Too Spiffy 13 just redeemed my belief in humanity because Too Spiffy was like, wait a minute. Da, 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 da. And I was like, no. Da, 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 da. And Too Spiffy was like, well, da, 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 da. And I was like, huh, well, da, 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 da. And Too Spiffy was like, wait a minute. Did you just da, 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 da? And I was like, no. What I meant was da, 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 da. And Too Spiffy was like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, yes. Okay. Thank you for expounding upon that. And I was like, we're not fighting. We're not having some hyperbolic bullshit argument in the comment section. I like you. You can stay. You know what I think that she was actually saying, which is crazy, right? Because how can you say that your queen is on top, but then also say that Cardi B swapped destinies with her? Because that's an admittance that Cardi B is doing much better. Same person right here, who I'm talking about. Same person. Right. This is the way, the stupid head way. It's just like, oh, baby, pull yourself together, pull yourself together. So, yeah, homegirl, whatever her handle was, um, after leaving those 2 comments, then went around to all y'all. This is why. This is why this place is so good, okay? Those weren't the only 2 comments that she left. No. To anybody who had left a comment on the video, she said, "Oh, I got a snappy response for you." And I said, "Actually, no, you don't. Delete. Leave people the fuck alone." These are the 2 biscuit head ass comments that you get to leave here because they're both demonstrative of the stupidity that is being outlined in the video. Thank you, Brittany. So, yes, I got my patience cap on today. Yes, I do. And throughout the weekend. So somebody said, I wonder if she'll have the guts to reply. More than likely, it was emotionally charged drive by and had no intention of engaging. Well, like I just said, She tried to clap back at everybody who had left a comment up until a certain point. I deleted her comments. I also responded to her second comment, which I read to y'all, and basically said, "Hey, you've already commented, and this is duplicative, and you're trying to attack people, and that's a violation of the moderation and comment policy here." So, knock it off, basically, in polite but stern words, you know? Um, and again, I don't care if she responds to me or not. Like, she served the exact purpose that I needed her to serve when she left that comment. Last night, as I was getting ready for bed, I had the conscious thought to myself, I don't know what, you don't know what's going to happen with any video, especially when you're talking about somebody. Um, Thank you, beautiful. And so I was like, you know what? Let me prepare for the most unhinged, right? Let me make sure I've got two-step authentication on all of my accounts on social media. And I've, kind of tightened the hatches on some things. And then I also pre-drafted responses to comments. So one of the reasons why that response is so well put together is because I drafted it last night. Because inevitably somebody is going to come in here and say some shit about Cardi B or Jay-Z, and it's not really about this, that, or the other. It's about what they did and da 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 da. You're not engaging with the substance of the content. And I've dealt with that enough on this channel to know or be able to reasonably expect when I'm going to get behavior like that. So when other people pop onto this video and say the same shit, their comment is going to get deleted because I've already replied to one. That's the only one that I needed to reply to. I pinned it. You know what I always say? Leave one behind. Yes, leave one behind so they can show the others what it is that they experienced here. Yes, teachable moment for sure. Which reminds me, by the way, somebody called me a hypocrite in the comment section the other day, so I want to clarify something. On the Yes, Drake fans are stupid video, somebody left a comment saying, because the video has a disclaimer at the beginning of the video saying, "Good luck leaving a stupid comment." And somebody in the comment section said, "You're missing out on a real opportunity here. You need to let those comments flood in and then let us blame these people for filth." And my immediate response was, that is quite literally never going to happen on this channel. We don't do that here. And then a couple days later, I pinned a comment and flamed the shit out of somebody. Hi, Mr. Hashtag Miami full-time and all your little bitch ass friends. Yeah, I see you, beloved. So again, this was another teachable moment, right? Of somebody trying to be passive aggressive, call me out my name, et cetera, et cetera. So I pinned the comment. I had some selective responses to what they were saying. We had a little bit of an exchange. And then somebody popped on and was like, "You're a hypocrite. You said you would never," I'm paraphrasing. Their question was more like, "Am I missing something? I thought you said you would never." Yeah, you're missing the distinction. I said that I would never allow that kind of behavior, mostly because, as I have always said, if you are not going to engage with the content, I don't want you in the comment section, and I don't want other people to engage with you either. I work my ass off on these fucking videos. I wake up and stay up late and spend hours that are ridiculous to put together a YouTube video. So selfishly, I really want people to focus on the content of the video. So I'm not going to let people get into bullying, piling on, all of that shit, unless I decide I'm going to flame your ass. Now, I never said I wouldn't flame a motherfucker. I'll flame a motherfucker on this channel during a live, in the comment section, and I will pin your shit. I will pin your body up right on the edge of town. So all the visitors coming in can see what justice looks like here. And I reserve the right to do that to any fucking body and not have to explain myself. Also, I'm not here to be your moral barometer. I'm a real fucking person in the real fucking world. And if you talk crazy to me, I reserve the right to clap the fuck back through whatever means I decide is appropriate. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Right there. Right there on the edge of town. Mhm. Yes, right there. So, again, shout out to the silent lurkers who hate it here, but watch anyway, 'cause I make your day a little bit brighter. Yes, I do. And you pull lines to make yourself sound a little bit smarter when you go onto the socials or make your own video. Yep, yep. It's okay. We can sequence out events. Those things have timestamps on them, you know? Yeah, and I am a believer that sometimes you have to, you know, you do have to leave an example. I've had people in the last week, you know, dude who I flamed was like, you need to grow some whatevers. You're afraid of the comment section. I had some other dumb bitch roll up into a live the other night and say that I was a coward with regards to what happened over on the Deciphered live or whatever. And I rolled that bitch right off in front of everybody because in real life, bitch, you would not talk to me crazy. You might talk to me crazy, you ain't gonna step to me crazy. You might step to me crazy, you ain't gonna put your hands on me crazy, because then you gonna see my crazy. I know what I look like. Rest assured, I'm not the fucking one. Not on these internet streets, not out in the streets. Yep, that's exactly right. Yeah, that doesn't make me cowardly. Like letting the basic ass gaslighting shit that and baiting that people try and do on the internet, you can't gaslight me. I don't give a fuck. Somebody said on the uh Joe Budden is a gossip pyro video. What did they say? They said, "Oh, this is a pretty good critique of Joe Budden." Um and then went in on me about Kamala Harris. I didn't say shit about Kamala Harris personally in that video. She was a demonstrative example, period. So then this person starts railing against me and tries the typical gaslighting. You're too smart for this and the other. Now I'm looking at you sideways. You need to leave that in the past. She's no good for us. Da 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 da. I'm looking at you sideways now because I thought you were smart. Bitch, you think I give a fuck how you're looking at me? I don't give a fuck. You have no material impact on my life. Not a fucking bit. My intelligence on the matter, unimpeachable. This, your last fucking comment on this channel. If you don't roll your sorry ass out of here, I will. Dayton want to talk about matching energy. Shit. A lot. This and that. Little bit of this, a little bit of that. Friday antics and whatnot. Hey, beautiful, Yadana, beautiful. I that is not the thing that does it for me. When people say like, "Well, I don't agree. I don't give a fuck what you think. I just presented you with a fucking fact." Religious ideology in cults. Find the lie. Religious rhetoric in cults. Find the lie. Okay, you can't find it because it's true. Exact same fucking language comes out of her mouth. Find the lie. You can't because it's true. You know how fucking long I worked to analyze that shit? Somebody said in the comment section, how did you do this, motherfucker? Said with love. I worked so fucking hard on that. I don't often start a script from a place of I know exactly what to say. I know exactly how I'm going to put it together. I start a script from pieces and patterns. Pieces and patterns. Like, what is it that they do? What is it that they continuously do? What are some very clear examples that are publicly documented that you can look at? What are the commonalities or patterns of behavior across these seemingly unrelated incidents involving this person? Okay. Then it's what is that? What is that behavior? Where does it fit? And then it's slotting it into where does it fit. With Joe Budden, the technical the technical title for that video is something like Joe Budden, comma, cultural accelerationist. And I was like, that title's not gonna get the people, right? Because what do those words mean? But that's what I come to upon analyzing what does he do? How does he do it? Where are some seemingly unrelated examples of where we see this? Okay, and then what is that? What is he doing? He's pissing gasoline on the fire. That's an accelerationist behavior. So it's accelerationism. So instead of calling the video that, I was like, well, what does he use to accelerate? He uses gossip. Okay, what's another word for accelerating? Accelerant. Then that made me think of fire. And then that made me think of a pyro. And then I was like, well, I don't want to say cultural. It still sounds a little too. Because part of me was like, he's a gossip girl. But if I use the title gossip girl, then people are going to rag on women. And I'm sick and tired of that. These men act like girls. They're catty, da 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 da. No, he acts like a sorry ass man. Because that's what he is. He's a sorry ass, gossipy man. And if the Joe Budden podcast doesn't prove any fucking thing, it's that men are gossipy men. And every single one of them who participates in that platform is a gossipy ass man. And the fact that now they want to fluff up their chest feathers and fight with each other. Give me a fucking break. Nobody there is the moral authority on another one of them who is there. So again, thinking of, okay, gossip girl, no, I can't do that because then I'm going to be pissed off at all the comment section feeding into that misogynistic narrative. So I was like, gossip pyro, that'll work. That'll work. And I don't give a fuck about your feelings. I really don't. I don't give a fuck what you think about me. I don't give a fuck if you approve. I don't give a fuck if you agree. I don't give a fuck if you decide I'm not following this channel anymore. I do not care. That is not the value point for me. That's not it. The value point for me is What do I see? How can I analyze it in such a way that encapsulates what it is that we all are experiencing and or witnessing in a situation or a person or a string of situations? And then it just selfishly quiets my mind. Like, I literally said to a friend last night, "Dude, my brain is so quiet right now." I was like, "I don't know what I'm gonna." I mean, I have things, but I was like, there w one of the reasons why, I did 2 videos last week, I did 2 videos this week, was because all of this is in my mind and I wanna get it out. Um, so selfishly, that's a reason why, I'm doing all of this as well, and sometimes it takes time, for the Joe Budden and the Nicki Minaj videos. Again, Nicki took I don't even know how much time, but it's because even though a lot of it flowed out of me, because I do a lot of thinking before I actually start writing, so I can get off, like, I've got a paragraph on this in my head, I've got a paragraph, and I'll figure out where it fits later, but I wanna make sure that I get these things out, and then I'm just thinking, analyzing, and researching. Thinking, analyzing, and researching. Not just her, but, um, other components of the picture that I'm trying to paint for people so that I can take what are complex, social realities that you could talk about for days, right? And how do I narrow them down into a paragraph that keeps the critical information and substance of it and then connects it to the next thing that will be examined in the video. So, yeah, on the one hand, the Nicki video kind of poured out of me, but on the other hand, I was really stunned at how much time I wound up putting into putting that video together. Yeah, well, I'm glad. It's just so ridiculous, and I got so many people reaching out to me about that. Y'all, I do not watch these people. I didn't have to go and watch a single fucking thing, with regards to clips to accurately summarize his biscuit head assery because it's all over the news. I can just go to the news. What did Joe Budden say today? I need the quote for that. Let me get to a second source. They got the same quote. I did my job. I don't need to watch it. I'm not going to watch. I don't watch these people for the purposes of at some point in time being able to talk about them. They only ever hit my line of sight if you all tell me about something that's going on or if it hits the mainstream news in a reputable place because I don't follow biscuit head aggregator outlets or gossip accounts. So, um, the Joe Budden stuff, his comments after the case dismissal were so insulting to me. His behavior, his, Dayton or whatever the fuck that dude's name is. Me. This last year has been so difficult for me. You get the fuck over yourself. Ain't shit been difficult for you. You drove the clown car into your studio happily and just cooned out about this case for almost a year. And now you're a fucking victim after you tried to fuck with the material substance of the case with your reckless, I'm just joking comments. Fuck you. I'm sick of that shit. It's just jokes. Fuck that. When it doesn't have a material impact in the world, you can argue that. When it has a demonstrative impact in the world that you can point to that's fucking documented, you can't say that. Such is the case for his actions. In Drake v. UMG, he wound up on the docket. That's material. Doesn't matter that he said, I was just joking. I didn't know. That doesn't matter. Doesn't matter that he said, well, I'll testify that that's not how it works. Such as the case in the things that he did around Tory Lanez shooting Megan Thee Stallion. Such is the case for his comments about Kamala Harris, and that's the bridge. It's fucking irritating as shit. Hello, beautiful. I hope you're having a good day. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, and I'm not going for that. Again, grown fucking woman living in the real goddamn world. So people can talk all the shit they want to talk in the comment section. It doesn't faze me. Not to the degree that sorry, I'm just looking at a docket real quick. Not to the degree that they think it does. Let me say that. It bothers me in other ways. Seeing people be willfully stupid distresses me because I'm concerned about society, not because I give a fuck about celebrity gossip. Yes. Oh shit. Oh, please file it this weekend. Oh please, oh please, oh please, oh please, oh please file it this weekend. I want it. I want it this weekend. James Comey has just been granted leave from the court to file a motion to dismiss for vindictive and selective prosecution with permission to file excessive pages. I want it. I want it. Sorry. I want it now. I have been this is my new, this is my new is the Comey docket. Like they said day one, we're gonna file a motion to dismiss for selective prosecution. And I was just like, oh man, I can't wait to read that. I don't think you understand the legal minds that have gathered to represent this man. Some who have come out of retirement. Who are like, yeah, fuck it, rack them up, let's play. Let's fuck them up. Oh my God. And their absolute efficiency on the docket. That docket is sexy. It's clean. It's clean. It's timely. Because let me tell you something. We are going to gather. I'm going to read that document here. Do you know why? Because there's going to be so much tea and shade in his motion to dismiss. I can't fucking wait. It is going to be shade-tastic, okay? Shade-tastic. He's going to shade the shit out of Donald. Oh my God, I can't wait. It's going to be great. You know what? You know what? You know what? You know what?
I'm bulletproof.
He is going to talk the biggest shit about this man. And what my hope is, let me see, when did I get that? 226? 251. My hope is that it's almost ready or very nearly ready because oftentimes you will see the request to file with additional pages come right before they file the thing. So they've got the thing ready or very close to ready. They need to go through the procedural. We're this many pages over. Can you please give us permission to file? The judge says yes, and then they file. So I'm hoping that means that it's going to come relatively soon, but we'll see. It's going to come eventually, and baby, we going to be here. I cannot fucking wait for that because I know he drags Donald for fucking filth. I know he does. And I know that there's going to be tea in there. It's going to be so great, y'all. It's so great. It's so great when they get exasperated and sarcastic and all of that stuff. Oh my God, when they bold, italicize, and underline a word. I cannot wait to see the descriptors, the adjectives. I'm a big fan of adjectives. I can't wait to see the adjectives that they use to describe the case, the president, the prosecutor, and the Department of Justice. And I don't know if he's done this already. As a matter of fact, I might have to go back and look at the docket. But they said that they were going to, file the motion to dismiss for selective prosecution. And they also said that they were going to challenge the legality of this little Pop Tart, Lindsay, something, halitosis. That's what we're going to call her. We're going to call her Lindsay halitosis because that's just easier for me, Lindsay halitosis, who was brought in to be the lead prosecutor, the one who's never done criminal shit in her life at any level, let alone the federal level. I do believe that she was a real estate attorney. Yeah, they said we gonna challenge the legality of her ass bringing these charges too. I said, oh, I like it. Now I really can't remember what her last name is. I know it starts with an H. And I almost said Halliburton. And then halitosis popped into my mind. So that's her name now, Lindsay halitosis. Halitosis. I mean, I think we're going to see shocking, unconscionable, alarming, concerning, uh, ego, revenge, vengeful, egotistical, outlandish, preposterous. There's one that's tickling the edges of my brain. Inconceivable. Damn it, I still need to watch The Princess Bride. Inconceivable. See? See? Yeah, I meant to watch that the other day. I can't remember what I got distracted by, but today might be the day. I might need some nuggies, some fries, and a little happy drink, and The Princess Bride. Is today Friday or Thursday? Today is Friday, right? Oh God, I'm losing it a little bit, y'all. Losing it a little bit. It's Friday. Yeah, it's Friday. I had distinctly Thursday things that I did yesterday. Buffoonery could be in there. Buffoonery could be in there. Uh, yeah, so I can't wait for that to come down. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a moment in history for show, for show. Ah, somebody just responded to Ethereal Charm, and they said, "Well, well, well, aren't you presenting yourself as the polar opposite of what your username conveys?" I love that. Somebody else said, "The pin of shame." Y'all are great. Y'all are great. And you see, that's not, I'm not letting people flame her. I already did that. They just co-signing. They just co-signing the flame, the flamation. I just watched that about 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, and I haven't watched it in easily, easily, oh, 18, 20 years. The Five Heartbeats is such a good movie. It gave me such nostalgia, and I really just love looking at, like, anything that reminds me of Robert Townsend is a good movie because he has been such a gift in front of and behind the camera throughout his entire career. And I think that his role, particularly in the Five Heartbeats, is kind of the micro to that macro. And I love that. Yeah, such a good movie. The Five Heartbeats is such a good movie. Such a great cast. Yeah, so good. So good. So yes, let me see here. Make sure I didn't have any other. I got a bunch of docket alerts while I was sitting here yapping with y'all. Oh yeah, he's had a bunch of lawyers come onto the docket too. So I think they're just administratively getting all of their shit together. Lots of pro hawks coming onto the docket. They're probably signed on to his motion. So getting all of that in order before you submit the motion itself is fantastic. We love to see it, y'all. We love to see it. So who knows? I may be back today or this weekend at some point in time to read you this lovely document. Is there anything else going on that we need to talk about before I go? She hasn't been charged with anything. She's just been fired. To my recall, she has not been charged with anything. She's just been fired. So I think that this is a case of, priorities and sequencing. And Thank you, beautiful. And, so I think that she's focused on, her own recovery from losing her job and trying to decide if she is gonna do anything about that in terms of trying to sue. Um, and I would imagine I don't think that she's on the docket on behalf of her father in any capacity, but I would imagine that she's a part of the brain trust behind the scenes. And she's a brilliant mind, so he would be lucky to have her. Yeah. Ooh, nice. I know, I don't know what I'm gonna eat. I haven't eaten anything at all so far today. It's 3 o'clock. I made a smoothie, but it didn't turn out that great, so that's not gonna do it for me. Um, but yeah, he's just the cutest little thing. I was like, "Let me put a little graphic together, so I can say thank you to the people for their contributions. I appreciate it very much." Oh, I wish a salad would do it for me. But I think I need something that had parents. And I suppose I could get that in salad form, but it's very far away, and I want something faster and saltier, quite honestly. I want something faster and saltier. So I think that's probably what I'm gonna do. Yeah. It has been such a little bright spot, let me tell you, and yesterday, I didn't get to take a picture, but yesterday I told y'all that I have, like, a pumpkin, like, sweater/costume slash costume that I have that I was gonna try, and then I was gonna put the hat on him. I put the sweater on him yesterday, and it's got a turtleneck. The distinguished gentleman popped all the way out, popped all the way out. I was in the middle of doing things, so I couldn't even do a photo shoot. I was just like, let me see what this looks like. I'm too curious." And I slipped it on him for like 3 minutes. And I was just like, "Oh boy, you gonna be breaking hearts on the internet soon." He looks so adorable. So yeah, this weekend I'm gonna dress him up in all the things, and I'm gonna do a little photo shoot with him. And yes, we'll run it from there. Oh, now see that sounds amazing. That sounds amazing. I mean, he looked just ridiculously adorable. So, yeah, he knows what's coming. He knows what's coming because, I pick up the things, I let him smell it, and then I'm like, "Come here, come with me. Come on, come on." Then we go sit down somewhere and I explain to him like, "Okay, this is your new sweater. We're just gonna put it on for a couple minutes, make sure it fits you real good, like." And he's usually purry and just looking up at me like, "All right." And then when I get it on him, I just shower that boy with love. I just shower that boy with love. And I feel like, because like when I got the sweater on him yesterday and I, fixed the turtleneck part and I kind of like set him apart for me. I was like, "Okay, now let me look at you. Oh, you're such a handsome boy." And I swear he was like, "I am." I swear he was like, "I am. I am. Let me turn this way so you can see it from this angle." I said, "Oh, now that's just so nice. You look so good." He said, "Yeah, let me turn this way so you can see it from this angle." Yep, it's perfect for you." And he was like, "Okay, are we done?" I said, "Yeah, I gotta go finish what I was doing. Let me take it off." A pumpkin, a carrot, a Robin Hood. We don't know. We don't know. Little lipstick imprint center of his face. Oh, he's such a sweetie. All right, y'all. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go find some food because now I'm on a new docket watch. How long I let it's been a whole week. Now I'm on a new docket watch waiting for this Comey dismissal to come down. If it comes down today, I will be back. If it comes down this weekend, I'll be here. Um, if I don't see you this weekend, have a wonderful weekend. But I feel like I'll see you for something, why not? Why not? Thank y'all for hanging out with me today. If you haven't already, like this on your way out. And dagnamit, go watch this video. Like it, share it, leave a comment. If you can't think of any comment to post, leave a spooky emoji. It counts as a comment. Just say spooky season with some kind of spooky season emoji, and it counts. I worked really hard on it. Help it do what it gonna do. I appreciate you, and I will see y'all soon. Take care. Peace.